Be sure to have that ID number handy. It's a really quick way for us to look you up. And also some information about how you can find this offer in your My UCSC portal. So if you can't find your PDF version anymore, you don't know where it's at, it does live in your My UCSC portal. All right, so the next part of your conditional aid offer breaks down information that we've gathered from your FAFSA. Some information about your degree level. This is an undergrad student who is an entering freshman. They plan to live on campus. They're planning to be a full-time student. They are a California resident and they are a dependent. So as you look at your specific financial aid offer, some of this information might vary. You might be an independent student. You might have a commuter budget. You might have an off-campus budget. You may be a non-California resident. So all of these components will determine separate pieces of what we were able to offer you as far as financial aid goes. And then from the FAFSA, we pull your expected family contribution. This is also called an EFC number. You can, pardon me, find it on the last page of your student aid report or SAR. And this number can vary widely. In this particular example, this student has a 0 EFC, and an EFC is an index number. It's a number that our office uses to determine grant eligibility and different types of aid that we can offer you. And then below that is the cost of attendance. So if you've been with Robert and I through the first and second webinar series, we talked a lot about cost of attendance. And so based on your housing plans and your residency, we issued you the budget that you would fall into. For this student, because they're on campus and a California resident, their estimated cost of attendance is $39,288. Now, this is made up of these several different components. This number is going to change if you're a commuter student. It would change if you're a non-resident student. And all of the different cost of attendance budgets can be found on our website under costs for undergraduate students. So let's dive deeper into what are these costs that you may incur. Now, the cost of attendance total is what we determine you might, what it costs to live, eat, breathe, and go to school for the 9 months that you're living on campus. I apologize sincerely if there's barking in the background. I am presenting from home and I apologize. The items highlighted in blue are direct costs. These are costs that you will incur and charges that you'll see on your account when you start school. So the estimated tuition and fees, this includes tuition, student services fees, and campus fees. For an on-campus student and a California resident is $14,625 for the year. And the average room and board, this is based on a 2-person occupancy. We estimate as around $18,120. Now, the contract that you arrange with housing for living on campus could vary very greatly from this if you consider living in a single or in a triple or have a different type of meal plan. So this is a general ballpark number for based on a 2-person occupancy. And then your health insurance. On-campus health insurance is $3,021 for the year. These are all annual costs. Students do have the option to elect to waive this charge if they're covered under their parents' health insurance, or if you're an independent student and you pay for your own health insurance, you can elect to waive this as well. So that's an option. I can dive a little bit deeper into that. That has to be done through the health insurance department. There is deadlines to submit that waiver request. So, and then these items in white, average cost for books and supplies, average cost for personal expenses and transportation. These are all variable expenses. They're going to depend on you as an individual. They're not items that we're going to charge you. They're not going to appear on your student account when the bill is due at the beginning of the quarter. These are going to vary depending on your usages, whether you buy books or you rent books, your personal expenses, and what type of transportation you use while you live on campus for the 9 months. So, but we do include all of these costs as a part of your financial aid package because we recognize that you will incur these costs. So direct costs, and then in white, your indirect costs. The other thing that I like to mention to students about direct costs is that SBS will give you the option to pay your charges quarterly or annually. So you can pay your charges upfront for the year, or you can elect to pay them prior to fall quarter, prior to winter quarter, and then prior to spring quarter. So if you're trying to figure out what is my bill going to be for the fall quarter, you can tally up your direct costs and divide them by 3. So just a little tip on if you're trying to really look ahead at, estimating what your bill is going to be, that'll put you in the right ballpark. Also, housing has a really in-depth website about different room pricing and the meal plans. So you could get a more specific idea about what your housing will cost by going to their website. The next part of your financial aid offer letter is the aid. So up top, if you were eligible for any type of gift aid, grants or scholarships, or types of aid that never have to be paid back. In this instance, a student that has a 0 EFC would be eligible for a federal Pell Grant, a Cal Grant from the state of California to cover tuition, a UC grant in the amount of $7,068. This is an institutional grant. So this grant is awarded by the federal government. This grant is awarded by the state, and UC grant is awarded by our institution. And then our health insurance grant is also an internal grant to help pay for health insurance. And then this student in particular was eligible for a Regents scholarship. So they also were awarded a Regents scholarship on top of that. And then just a couple of notes for things that I have mentioned, but if you didn't notice, notes in your conditional aid offer, grants do not have to be repaid or earned through work. And then the aid will be credited directly to your student bill. So for the charges that you incur for fall, you can expect that 1/3 of each of these funds will disperse to pay that first quarter charges. And then the university health insurance grant is available to students who participate in the USHIP insurance plan. So for dependent students, if you do not participate in our health insurance plan, then you essentially will forfeit this grant. You will not receive the grant. So, but if you do participate, you may be eligible for the grant. And then we also have self-help. So we talked a lot about in the first and second webinars about financial aid being a partnership between families and a university. So this is a partnership. The grant aid is our demonstration of our partnership with you. And then the self-help portion is the portion of aid where you show vested interest. You have the option to borrow a student loan. In this student's case, they were eligible for a federal subsidized loan and federal work study eligibility. You may be offered other types of loans like a federal direct unsubsidized loan or a Parent Plus loan. You might see those. Those are very common on your conditional aid offers. We've gone over the details of what subsidized loan and work study eligibility covers, and the details of those funding types. I'm not really going to go into detail about them. But loans are completely optional. Work study is also completely optional. One of the biggest differences between your conditional aid offer and your official aid offer is that when you get your official aid offer, you will have the option to accept or decline any of the aid that we've offered you. Right now, we're just giving you a preview, but later on in the summer, once you've committed to UCSC, you'll be able to pick and choose what you want to use to pay towards your bill. All right, and then we have the final breakdown. So we've gone back through and highlighted your direct costs. So the direct costs are what was highlighted in blue. This includes tuition and fees, campus health insurance, and room and board. For an on-campus freshman, that's around $35,766. This particular student was eligible for $34,688 in grants. And then their estimated remaining net cost is about $1,078. So that student could either elect to pay this out of pocket or to borrow any one of their student loans to help cover the remaining $1,078. Now we just added back the $4,600. Oh, pardon me. The $4,600 is both the subsidized loan and the work study. Now, in order to qualify for the work study, you'd have to secure a work study position. But let's say I want to, let's say I'm not able to pay this $1,078 out of pocket. You could borrow all or part of this subsidized loan to help you cover that cost. And then if you borrow more than what's needed to cover this balance, then you might receive a refund. So if this number on your conditional aid offer is positive, that means that you may still owe a balance to UCSC after all the aid has been offered to you. If the number is negative, like in this student's case, then you may expect to receive a refund, which you can use for other educationally related expenses, such as books and supplies, transportation, projects that come up in class, computers, whatever you need. Okay, what if I'm still missing aid? So what if you open up your conditional aid offer and you were expecting to see some additional forms of aid? Those might be external awards and scholarships. Those are typically awarded later in the year once our office has been notified that you'll be receiving this amount. So if you've been applying to scholarships and you've received confirmation, that agency still has to notify our office, mail us a check, and then we'll post those scholarships to your account and you'll see them added in your portal. Also, many inquiries come in about middle class scholarship. If I qualify for middle class scholarship, why isn't it a part of my conditional aid offer? And that's because the middle class scholarship is determined by the state of California. They send us a roster after the fall quarter begins, and they notify us who to award this to. And then you'll see it posted and updated on your My UCSC financial aid portal. Now, just kind of to let you know, if you have covered all your bases and your bill is paid for the quarter and you have scholarships still coming in, but your balance is zero, these might result in a refund check as well. And so you might be able to utilize these funds for other educationally related expenses. And finally, what happens next? Now that you have your conditional aid offer, it's really important to submit your intent to register before the deadline. Continue to apply for scholarships over the summer and plan. So review your financial aid offer with your family, determine which aid awards you'd like to accept and decline to cover your bill. Make a plan for what you're going to do when those surprise things happen during the quarter. You never know. And so kind of really planning ahead with your family is a really important part of this process. And then a list of all the financial aid programs that I went over today can be found at our website, financialaid.ucsc.edu. All righty. So that's it for my presentation, Beatrice.
Okay, outstanding. Well, the team has been answering questions. We'll continue to answer questions in the chat while we take questions for the next 35 minutes or so. So we have a lot of time for questions. So please, everybody keep hanging in there, keep posting your questions specifically. So a few of the things that came up that I have noted that I wanted to ask you, Savannah, is firstly, really understanding, a lot of people are saying, I still haven't seen my bill, my financial aid offer. I'm really concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things, we do have Zoom drop-in hours every single day. So if you haven't seen an official, a conditional aid offer posted to your portal yet, you're welcome to join us. We have Zoom from 10 to 1. We also take walk-in students from 1 to 4, and our phones are open from 10 to 4. And you can call in and you can ask us to take a look, verifying that our federal school code is on your FAFSA so that we can pull your FAFSA. That's one of the key reasons why students may not have a conditional aid offer if we don't have your FAFSA. Making sure that your social security number is updated in your admissions application and in our system. That's another really big reason why we're not able to download FAFSAs and offer conditional aid offers. And yeah, so those are some key factors, but we really encourage students that are still waiting for a conditional aid offer to come to our drop-in advising so we can take a look.
Fair. Okay, that totally makes sense. And that's available Monday through Friday on the phone and on Zoom and in person, etc. So a lot of different opportunities for students to ask questions.
Yeah, and we have lots of advisors, so there's like not a lot of wait time. So please come by.
We are getting some questions in the chat asking, where and when are those Zoom hours? So for those financial aid staff who are with us, if you could just make sure to pop those into the chat too, that would be super helpful. Other questions, a lot of folks were asking about the UC SHIP health insurance. How much is health insurance? When can I, apply for it? And if I choose to waive the health insurance grant, can those monies be applied to some other portion of the tuition?
So good questions. Good questions. Okay, so I believe you're automatically enrolled in UC health insurance. But if you do not want to be enrolled in UC health insurance, that's when you have to go above and beyond and submit that waiver. The UC Health Insurance Department has deadlines for when those waivers are due. So it's important to head over to their website to look into that if you're considering waiving it. And then I think the critical part of that question is, can the grant be used for something else? No, the grant can only be applied to UC Health that's charge. It's $3,021 for the year. So I think it's $1,007 per quarter. The grant only goes to this health insurance charge. So if you waive the insurance and you're not participating, then you're also essentially waiving the grant.
So that's good to know. People who choose to waive the health insurance are not going to get those monies reassigned differently.
Correct. Yeah. If they're a dependent student, yes, that is the case.
Got it. So I think a lot of the other questions that continue to come through are how payment plans work. So one question people want to know is, when does the bill come? When is the bill due? Can I pay quarterly or do I have to pay annually?
Yes. So it's a special relationship we have with Student Business Services. They are the ones that really manage billing. Contrary, I think many people believe that it does come from our office. However, we just issue the good part, the financial aid. We don't issue the bills. The bill is due before the first day of the quarter. You will get your bill in advance. They will post it in advance. And then once the Office of the Registrar publishes the 2023 academic calendar, it will show you all of the dates and due dates for every quarter. I don't believe that calendar has been published quite yet, so I can't say what the billing due date is going to be for fall. But as soon as that calendar becomes available, you'll be able to see for fall when the bills will be posted, when it's due, and when the financial aid is scheduled to disperse in advance of that bill.
All right, outstanding. So typically, just everybody should know the bill has come and been posted around mid-August. That's typically when it's come. And then school is starting this year, I believe, on September 18th. So just to give you some key dates, I'm sure the Office of the Registrar is going to be posting their administrative calendar very soon, along with Student Business Services. So, you can look at the Student Business Services and the Office of the Registrar for updates on the calendar specifically.
And yeah, so then the financial aid disbursement date will be a few days before the billing due date. And students really need to pay attention to your to-do lists, because if we need any documents from you, or if any of the offices need something from you, it could hold disbursement. So what you want to make sure to do is make sure your to-do list is all checked off and all items are completed. And then in order for aid to disperse, you will need to go online after your official aid offer has been issued and accept or decline your awards. If you don't touch the awards at all, nothing will happen.
So just to kind of refresh on the timeline for everybody, so we're super clear. May 1st is the statement of intent to register deadline for all of our first year students. So that is the national deadline by which you need to decide whether you are going to enroll in UC Santa Cruz. That is May 1st. After that, then in around the beginning of June is where financial aid will say the deadline is for verification documentation, correct? So if there has been a request for verification regarding anything connected to your FAFSA, that will be due by the beginning of June for first year students, okay? And then, go ahead, Savannah.
I was just going to say that verification piece is the key to getting your official aid offer.
So that is an extremely important piece, is to be checking your to-do list in the my.ucsc.edu website to really be ensuring, okay, I'm looking to see, are there any documents that have been requested by financial aid or by the Office of Admissions? And then in mid-June to July is when students will see their official aid offer, correct?
Yeah, it trickles. Yeah, they'll trickle in just like these will. They'll slowly see official aid offers start to get posted during that time. Yeah.
And it's at that time then that a student and family need to decide, officially accept that aid offer. Yes. And that way they've accepted whatever grants and any self-help they've been assigned as well. Yes. And then that bill is going to be posted typically around mid-August, and there'll be a financial aid disbursement aid a few days before that bill is posted.
Yes.
Okay. And then the bill is due before the beginning of the quarter, and the beginning of the quarter is September 18th. So that kind of lays out for everybody the timeline of when to expect things and how this process is going to work. So hopefully that helps a lot of folks who are watching here kind of understand the timeline and when to be looking for things. I just want to reiterate one other thing that Savannah said, which is if you have things on your to-do list that have not been cleared up, that can interrupt both the disbursement of your financial aid. It can also interrupt your enrollment. So enrollment for first-year students happens at the beginning of August, and it's all done in conjunction with orientation. So an orientation is entirely online. You're automatically enrolled in it through your student portal, and then you go through classes, your orientation classes. And then after you've completed your classes 1 and 2, there are 3 classes in orientation. Once you've completed classes 1 and 2, then you will be given an enrollment appointment. And again, for first-year students, that's going to happen in the beginning of August specifically. So we're going to ask for your official records and transcripts well before that in July. And that's where you're going to want to get us those official records, so then you can make sure to hit your enrollment appointment at the beginning of August. So just kind of thinking through all of the different timing of what to expect from here on out. Okay, a lot of other great questions continuing to come in. I think one of the questions we did ask, but sort of sounds like it's a student business service question, is again, do I have to pay everything up front or can I pay quarterly?
Yeah, Student Business Services is going to give you that option.
Okay.
They're going to issue that bill. They tell families they have the option to pay it all up front or quarterly. And traditionally, students pay it quarterly.
All right. So more questions that have been coming in really consistently have been about the Blue and Gold Scholarship and the Middle Class Family Scholarship. I think there's a lot of kind of confusion that continues to exist around these 2 different scholarships because each UC posts them into your financial aid offer at different times. So Savannah, can you just talk about 2 things? One, how do I know if I've qualified for the middle class scholarship? When can I expect to see it in my aid offer if I'm going to get it?
So middle class scholarship, well, I'll say this for both middle class scholarship and Blue and Gold. There are income and asset ceilings for both of these. So in order to know if you qualify for middle class scholarship or Blue and Gold is based on the total income and assets on your FAFSA. So that's eligibility key number 1. Number 2 is for our university, we do not include Blue and Gold in our estimate. Blue and Gold pays tuition specifically, and typically students cannot have 2 fee-paying sources at the same time. So if you look at the example on this on the screen, this student happens to have Cal Grant, and Cal Grant pays tuition and fees specifically. So we know in this instance, the student would not be eligible for Blue and Gold or MCS because they have this fee paying tuition source. Now, if the student did not have Cal Grant at all, and they just had Pell Grant and UC Grant, they may be eligible for Blue and Gold or MCS. However, it would not change their total grant eligibility, if that makes sense. So it might come from, it might be separated out as you received a piece of Blue and Gold, so we're reducing university. You don't need as much university grant, but overall your total grant eligibility will not change. And then MCS is a little bit different. like I said, the state of California will notify us if you're eligible for middle class scholarship once we verified your FAFSA and everything is accurate. Those awards go out usually in, I would say October, November.
Okay. And Savannah, just as a reminder to everyone in the office, what is the Blue and Gold Scholarship? What are the qualifications for it?
Yeah, so let me pull up some information about Blue and Gold just to give everybody kind of a resource tool.
And yeah, outstanding. Thank you, Savannah. It's always great when we can refer to our websites. There's such great information on all of our websites.
There is, and the reason I pull it up is just because our website has so many tools, and this is the hub to come if you do have questions. The Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan, I talked about those income and asset ceilings. This is one of those types of funds where a family whose total income has to be less than 80,000. But this particular type of plan does not look at assets, where a middle class scholarship does look at both income and assets. So if your family has high assets but low income, you may qualify for Blue and Gold.
Great, outstanding. Thank you so much. So definitely wonderful to look at the website. Other questions that folks have been asking have to do with Summer Edge. So if I'm a student who's incoming and I'm really interested in participating in our outstanding Summer Edge program and earning up to 7 units of college credit before I even start, how can I get financial aid for Summer Edge?
Yeah, Summer Edge is a very special beast. We have advisors that specialize in Summer Edge. I'm not one of those advisors, but I can show you where you can see a Summer Edge calculator to estimate your total grants. Looks like Glenn's going to be able to hop on and help answer some questions about Summer Edge in particular.
Yeah, I mean, what you got to remember is with Summer Edge, you can receive financial aid for this upcoming summer. What you have to remember is that you need to submit a financial aid application for the current academic year. So for us, the summer is part of our current academic year, which is 21-22. So you will need to make sure to submit the 21-22 either FAFSA or DREAM application to be considered for financial aid. And then you will want to contact Summer Edge, and actually their email address is really easy. It's just summeredge@ucsc.edu to go over the enrollment registration process, okay? But based off of that, we will review the 21-22 application. You may get selected for verification, which means we may ask for you to complete some verification items online, such as forms and your tax information to be uploaded. And from there, we will then put together a financial aid package for you for the Summer Edge term. So that's how you would look at it. So even though you have already submitted the 22-23 FAFSA or DREAM application for this upcoming academic year, you would need to submit this separate one.
Okay, so just so everybody kind of understands that, basically the financial aid for Summer Edge is based on the 21-22. So you have to apply for financial aid for this year, and you would have to apply for financial aid for next year, basically, too.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. A couple other interesting questions coming in. What happens if a student is given a scholarship for 4 years, but they graduate in 3 years? Do they get to keep extra money? How does that work for them?
No, I mean, typically the condition of the scholarship is that you are enrolled. So if you graduate early, there's no way that we can apply that scholarship to your enrollment because you wouldn't be here.
But you have the advantage of having graduated early, saving
So you're
money
paying
and
less,
getting
right?
to use your scholarship to cover those 3 years. And there are a lot of different ways, just so everybody knows, there's a lot of different ways that students do find cost savings. One of which is obviously the summer edge we just talked about, but then we just have summer session that happens annually for all of our continuing students. And then we also have 3-year degree programs. So if you're a student who's really ambitious and really knows what you want to study and are interested in graduating on a faster timeline, we have programs that are actually set up to help you do that. So you can absolutely do that. So just FYI for everybody. A lot of students are also asking, and this isn't your area of expertise, and I say that, but that just generally, they're asking about the Educational Opportunity Program. And if they're part of the Educational Opportunity Program, do they somehow receive extra aid? So can you talk a little bit about, if they would be, or what type of how relationship there is, if any, between EOP and financial aid?
Len, you want to take this one?
I'll take a stab at it. Yeah. Yeah, with EOP, definitely a resource for our students. You want to contact them. There's different things that they can assist you with. Yes, there's some additional funding that might be available to them, whether it's in scholarships. There are also textbook and also laptop funding that's available, so that they can utilize that. And then tutoring that's available. So different educational things. So some different mentoring assistance, but definitely a program that you can utilize. Sometimes if there are awards that are coming through them, they will then work with the financial aid office to apply that to their financial aid award. But your best bet is to actually contact them directly. And then also take a look at what their offerings are throughout the year. But there are definitely a lot of different things, different workshops, again, that they provide that will help you get through the academic year and then, your 4 years here at UC Santa Cruz.
Outstanding. Other questions that we're getting, Glenn and Savannah, have to do with what is the difference between this expected family contribution and my direct costs? So it seems like there's a little bit confusion kind of between understanding and going over that financial aid offer. So I know you did it once, but let's do it again, even more slowly.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So expected family contribution is the result of your FAFSA. So every year you will complete a FAFSA. That's your financial aid application. And the federal financial aid application is going to configure all of the data that you input: your income, your assets, your parents' income, your parents' assets, how many people live in the household. It's quite a lengthy formula, and out shoots your expected family contribution. And it sounds like the wording sounds like this is what the government expects families to pay or can afford to pay. But that's not how we view. They're actually going to change this verbiage next year. It'll be called a student aid index, an SAI. So you will see EFC, or expected family contribution, go away and a student aid index come into play probably next year. And it's just that. It's an index number that tells our financial aid office what your family's financial strength is. And so we use this index number to determine grant eligibility. It doesn't affect how much you're charged. It doesn't affect your budget. It has no weight on the budget that you're assigned or the charges that you're assigned. It helps us determine how much aid, different types of aid, you will qualify for.
Outstanding. So
sorry, I want to also mention that, sometimes the other thing to recognize is that The FAFSA is a federal aid application, and we mentioned this in the prior webinars, but that this is an application that is placed nationwide. And if you're a California resident, you know, the outcomes of your EFC may seem a lot higher than anticipated. A family making 100,000 in California is very different than a family in Mississippi making 100,000, but their EFCs are the same. And so in those ways, the state of California is really great about offering us Cal Grant, offering us a middle-class scholarship to help that inequity is essentially what that is.
Taking into account cost of living within your particular area and region and state.
Yes.
A lot of questions coming in about wanting to understand different types of loans. What is a university loan? What is a parent loan? What is a federal subsidized loan? What is an unsubsidized
Unsubsidized
federal
loan. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna just review those.
Yes, I'd be happy to review them. Yeah, we did go over them, but so just I'm gonna kind of go through each loan type from the top down. A federal direct subsidized loan is a federal loan that you would borrow from the Department of Education. This loan, the interest is paid by the government while you're in school, so there's no interest accrual while you're attending school. There's a 6-month grace period after you graduate before the loan goes into repayment. Now, this is different than a federal direct unsubsidized loan where the interest does accrue at the same rate, but while you're in school. You also have a 6-month grace period, and then repayment begins after that. The important thing to note, I think, that when you accept a federal student loan, you will go through entrance counseling. They will teach you about the loan. They will teach you about your repayment plans, your rights and responsibilities as a borrower. It's really important to be engaged during that entrance counseling. And also note that the Department of Education will sell the loan to a loan servicer. They'll sell the debt. And so you will build a relationship with a loan servicer. There's many out there: Great Lakes, Granite State, Mohila, Nelmet, to name a few. So those are loan servicers. And so your entrance counseling will teach you about who your loan servicer is going to be. So a lot of people think, oh, I'll get a bill from the Department of Education for these loans. That's not quite how it works. So the amounts that we offer for a subsidized loan, $3,500 is standard, but that's the maximum amount that can be offered to an incoming freshman, a first year. And then a sophomore is eligible for $4,500, and then juniors and seniors are eligible for $5,500 of subsidized loan. So these amounts will vary every year that you're enrolled, depending on need. So a subsidized loan is a need-based loan. If you have need eligibility, then you are eligible, you may be offered sub loan. An unsubsidized loan is not a need-based loan. This loan is typically $2,000 a year, and you can be offered unsubsidized loan no matter how high your EFC is. A university loan is very much like a subsidized loan, but it is from the university. So we're giving you the opportunity to kind of an extra loan that does not accrue interest while you're in school. There's a grace period after you graduate, and then repayment begins. I believe the interest rate also mirrors the federal subsidized loan as well. The maximum we offer incoming freshmen for the university loan is $1,500. And also DREAM students, we also offer a university loan to DREAM students. And a Parent Plus loan. Parent Plus loan is also a federal loan. This is not a need-based loan. It's a credit-based loan. It's like a consumer loan where parents who accept a parent loan would have to go through a separate Plus application, complete a credit check, and then the outcome of the credit check would determine their eligibility. If they're approved for the PLUS loan, then they have the option of how much to borrow. So the amount on the offer letter, if you were offered a Parent Plus loan and there's an amount there, that's just the maximum. That's not the amount you have to borrow. So you could elect to borrow less. Federal parent loan interest rates are a few points higher than the student loans. They've been varying. They've really been fluctuating lately. And then also, if a parent is denied a Federal Parent Plus loan, they don't pass the credit check. There's two options. A parent can elect to find a co-signer, or the student, we would offer the student additional unsubsidized loan to help cover the amount that they're not eligible for in the PLUS loan. So up to, I believe, $7,000. So that's the various different types of loan programs that are offered.
So a lot of great information. It's a lot of information. I am guessing that our financial aid website, financialaid.ucsc.edu, has a really great breakdown of what all these different terms mean, how much aid is available with them. So I know for a lot of folks watching tonight, they're listening. We're going to send out the recording to everybody who registered for this event. So you'll hear it. You can watch it again. But just know this information is all broken down on the financial aid website. It is there for you to read more slowly and kind of consume more slowly, as well as listening to this presentation again.
Yeah, just because I'm a fan of resources, this is back to our financial aid website. It tells you about loan limits for different freshmen, for unsubsidized and subsidized. It tells you about, you can look up interest rates here, and you can go through each of the loan programs here. So it'll talk to you about PLUS, it'll talk to you about university. It's everything that I said, but just written form.
And then, Savannah, if you can go back to your PowerPoint and to the direct cost section, I think we're still getting a lot of confusion and kind of understanding about, like, what is my direct cost? What do I actually know? How do I know what I actually have to pay? And you had given a great kind of breakdown of, like, add up all your direct costs, divide by 3. That's how much you have to pay per quarter. Let's do that again.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull in my handy dandy calculator because there's nothing beats being able to see it, right? So direct costs are going to be tuition, campus fees, and student services fees for the year, $14,625 for an in-state student. And then if you're living on campus, you're also going to receive a bill from housing, depending on, what your housing contract is. It could be more, it could be less than this. This is just an estimate based, like I said, based on a 2% occupancy, and then health insurance. And so when at the bottom of your official your conditional aid offer, where it says, your net costs, you're going to see $35,766. This is for an on-campus student. Your net cost on your conditional aid offer might say a different number, but these are the direct costs. And then what I like to do is divide it by 3, because you're going to be billed at the beginning of fall, at the beginning of winter, and at the beginning of spring. So for this particular student, they might expect that their quarterly charge that for fall is what's due is around $11,922.
So hopefully that really makes sense to folks. I think it's a great visual having it broken down. I know there were a lot of questions coming in from students and families saying, well, what does financial aid cover? Does it cover transportation? Does it cover dining? Does it cover housing? And this is a great example. You just went over, Savannah. It does. That is part of financial aid.
Yes, our goal is to offer you aid up to this amount to help you cover books and supplies, to help you cover personal expenses, transportation. Now, the difference really is that if you accepted all of your financial aid and you accepted all of your financial aid up to this amount, only financial aid would only directly pay these three things. And then you would receive what we call a refund, either via check or direct deposit. And you would be responsible to use that refund to cover these charges, these other costs that you incur, however you incur them.
So if you get that financial aid refund, it's important to make sure that you're budgeting it to cover the things that you need it to cover for. And just as a kind of a general statement to everyone, I know financial aid offers great financial aid awareness workshops, like budgeting 101 workshops. This is offered through Educational Opportunity Program, through our residential college system, through our ethnic resource centers, through financial aid. So financial awareness and education is actually built into part of our student success model at UC Santa Cruz to really help students understand what is, how do I budget my money when I am getting that financial aid reimbursement, disbursement? How do I plan for if I'm going to take on a loan, how to pay back that loan? How do I just budget for my life in general? Maybe I've chosen to live off campus, and that's my first time living off campus with roommates, learning how to pay for my rent and my water and my cable or internet. More importantly, how does that work? So we have these workshops that we offer to students directly through many different resources so they can learn those skills if they don't have them already. Glenn, I think there's some other things you wanted to add kind of about direct services and maybe Summer Edge.
Well, the one thing I wanted to piggyback on what you just mentioned, the other resource that you can utilize is Slug Sense, which is actually through Student Business Services. So that's a financial literacy program. And then they will also help you out with budgeting. So we also do that when you contact our office, especially as we're going over your financial aid and looking at your direct and indirect costs, and and trying to figure out how much aid you need to utilize or not utilize, and just manage that money. But another great resource for you to utilize. So again, that's Slug Sense, and just cents, just like pennies.
Outstanding. I think we're coming to the end of our hour all together, and I know there are so many more questions that we haven't gotten to answer, and a lot of you all have very specific questions to yourself. So Savannah, would you do me a favor? Go to your financial aid website and show your hours, your Zoom drop-in hours and your phone hours. I think it's so helpful for everyone to be able to see that and really know that's there for you.
Yes. So if you go to About Us in contact information, right away, you'll see our Zoom service hours, the week, and then the meeting code, the meeting ID, and the passcode. This does vary from week to week for security purposes. So the passcode from last week does not work this week. So you'll always want to, you can even just click on the link. That makes things super easy. Our phone, and then our phone hours and our front counter hours as well. So all on our, contact information page.
And in fact, the panelists that you have here answering questions are actually your Zoom hosts. So
Yes.
you'll actually get to see them in person and live in action.
Absolutely. So that does bring us to the end of our hour altogether. I thank you so much for everybody, for all of your questions. I know we didn't get to everybody's questions. That's why we have the Zoom hours posted and our other hours posted. I just want to give one other quick pitch. This Saturday, April 16th is our Banana Slug Day. It is a virtual event. It is another time when all of our amazing financial aid colleagues are going to be presenting. And Savannah, what time are you presenting again tomorrow on Saturday?
In the 9 o'clock hour, so about 9:20.
About 9:20 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, another financial aid panel. different platform. Information has been emailed out to all of our admitted students. It's also on our admissions.ucsc.edu website about how to register and get into the event. It is on a different type of platform. It's called AirMeet, so it's not a Zoom event, just so you know. But there's going to be different keynote addresses about student success. We'll have a student panel actually moderated by me again, so you'll see me again. You'll have the opportunity to talk to financial aid. There's a resource fair that's going to be running concurrently the entire program time from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, with representatives from our different academic divisions and from housing. All of this is happening this Saturday, April 16th, and it's all online and it's all available to all of you admitted students, whether you're a first-year student or a transfer student, or if you're on the waiting list, you can come still, totally fine. And just thank you again to all of our financial aid colleagues. Your knowledge, your patience is just mind-blowing. So appreciate you. Hope everybody has a wonderful night. We're going to record this whole presentation and send it out to everybody ASAP. Thanks so much and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.